Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello and welcome to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Max 6 Entrepreneurial Center right here in Tempe, Arizona, where we help build businesses and connect you with the right people. And today I am very excited and ultra proud to be bringing into the studio the leadership team, or a portion of the leadership team anyway, from Treasures for Teachers, which is right here in Tempe, Arizona, and has been for 20 years. And I am a proud board member and very excited to be featuring some of the folks who are making everything happen on behalf of our students and our teachers at Treasures for Teachers, which is a 501c3. Christopher Cordes, who is our Director of Development. Welcome to the studio, Christopher.
Thanks, Karen, for having me.
So happy to have you. And here we go. Cami Galvani. I've been practicing so hard on Galvani, I was going to mess up Cami. Cami is our board chair and a force to be reckoned with. Welcome to the studio, Cami.
Thank you for having me.
So thrilled to have you. How many years has it been that you've been on the board?
Let's see. I think it's been close to 10. It might be maybe around, it might be at 8.
Yeah. Well,
maybe
I think we
8.
came right around the same time, maybe within a couple months or 6 months of each other.
I definitely, you definitely came before I did.
But not much longer.
But not too much. Yeah.
And then you've been our board chair for
about 5 or 6.
I was going to say 2 or 3.
Oh no. Yeah. I am pre-COVID.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, we're grateful for your service and all the things that we do. And we are very proud and excited to introduce the world to our new executive director, Joy Klein. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and share not only in this amazing experience of being with you, but sharing what T4T is up to these days.
And you've been in the seat as executive director with Treasures for Teachers for 3 months now?
It'll be 3 months in the beginning of July.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So for our listeners and viewers who are not familiar with what and who Treasures for Teachers are, would love for one of you to start, and then, we can fill in the gaps there as well. It's a beautiful story. And like I said in the introduction, it's been around since 2003. And so who would like to kind of fill everybody in and who and what Treasures for Teachers is?
I am happy to jump in and take this one. So Treasures for Teachers started a little over 20 years ago. It was founded by a wonderful lady named Barbara Blaylock. And she has a great story. And if you don't mind, I'd like to tell it about what inspired her to sort of start Treasures for Teachers. But she, I believe she went into a classroom to volunteer, and she noticed that while she was there, a student took off their shoe and took it up to the teacher. And in return, the teacher gave him a pencil and he went back to his desk. And she watched this exchange and went to the teacher and said, what's up with the shoe? And she said, I only have so many pencils, and I really have to make sure that I get them back. And so if I force the student to give me their shoe, I know that I'll get my pencil back when they come to do the exchange. And she was just so taken aback that a pencil, which, for all of us in this room is a 2-cent item, was such a commodity that they had to engage in this sort of silly exchange of the shoe. And so she decided right then and there, you know what, I would like to do something to help with this problem. And so she started a little program out of her garage where she started collecting items to give to teachers who could use them in their classroom. And lo and behold, Treasures for Teachers started. And so it's, 20 years later, it's grown into a much bigger organization. We have a storefront and a warehouse and a thrift store and actually a location in the West Valley. And what we do is we collect and distribute items for teachers who need them for their classroom. So we have it's a membership-based program. So teachers who want to be a part of our community pay a small annual membership fee, and then they have access to our store, which provides free and low-cost supplies all year round. And so, as you can imagine, right now we're just about entering into our busiest season because teachers are starting to get ready to go back to school, which seems like summer just started, but for them, back to school is just around the corner, especially in some of our districts that have these modified year-round schedules. And so, but anyway, we take donations from businesses. We take donations from individual members of the public. It's a great place to drop things off if for teachers who are leaving the profession because they're retiring and they have some things that they would love to see get a new life in a new classroom. It's a great place for businesses that are remodeling or downsizing or moving so that they can get rid of some of their old office supplies. You know, we'd much rather have them on our shelves than go into the dumpster for sure. And as somebody who has worked in many office buildings who have undergone some changes, I know what can get thrown in the trash, and it is wasteful, and it is stuff that could be put to very good use in a classroom here in Arizona. So that's
a great backstory. Anything to add that you want to include in Cammie's overview, her flyover for Treasures for Teachers?
I think for me, I know that our teachers are making a lot of trade-offs in their lives. So they're using their personal funds to not only supply their classrooms, but make sure their students are set up for success. And I love that we get to be part of not only relieving some of that burden for those teachers, but also know that when they come in and shop with us, that we're here to support them in so many ways year round. And their needs are vast and their youth needs are vast too. And I'm just excited that I get to be part of this darling nonprofit that I have watched over the years in my career grow and change and expand. And it's been just an honor to be a part of it, not only meeting the staff, the volunteers, and this incredible board.
Anything to add, Christopher?
Yeah, I mean, to Joy's point about, how teachers are making trade-offs, both of my parents were educators in the Mesa School District. And I recall seeing them make trade-offs every day. They're obviously working overtime hours, they're grading papers, they're having their 7-year-old son, Christopher, grade papers on the couch or at the kitchen table. No, I didn't grade anything, but, I'd help them, because it's almost a 24-hour-a-day job. Most teachers are that passionate about their classrooms and their students. And because of that, if they see that there's a gap where, children are arriving without the supplies they need, it's just, they feel it's incumbent upon them to bridge that gap. And unfortunately, that means that they need to come out of their own pockets to provide those supplies. But they do it because it's what they care about. They care about the value of education, the opportunity it creates for their students, and they want to provide the most optimal learning environment for them. They do what they have to do. And so that's why T4T wants to support them in any way possible so that it reduces that burden that they feel that they need to commit to, and also does things in a much more efficient and timely way that really keeps people in classrooms as whole as they can year round.
Mm-hmm. It saddens me that it's been 20 years ago that story that you shared, Cammie, about Barbara being the observer in the classroom, that it's been 20 years that we've still dealt with this deficit in school supplies and really, paying our teachers what they're worth. That's a whole different conversation, a whole different show. I know for me, I was a third grade teacher and assistant principal in Kyrene School District in the early 90s and into the 2000s. And there was a time when we were first hired, and I shared this when we had our most recent fundraiser last year, that we were told we could not ask for school supplies. It was such a wealthy district that we were not allowed to ask for school supplies. You couldn't ask for a tissue. I mean, bring cupcakes for a party when that was accepted, that sort of thing. Paper, pencils, markers, everything was supplied for you. And that was really refreshing and great as a brand new teacher. And I still spent a boatload on math manipulatives and science materials and all the things that wasn't covered. However, I never asked teacher or parents for it. And yet now I'm still in the Kyrene School District. My son is part of the Tempe High School now, but has graduated from Kyrene. And I still am very close to a lot of the teachers in this, what's once a wealthy district and probably still considered that way. And they're lacking in supplies. And that's an example of one district with a decent enrollment. We really focus on at Treasures for Teachers, those schools and school districts that really need additional resources, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yes, not only our Title I schools, but schools that are 75% free lunch program. And not only are they making these trade-offs within the classroom, but we also know that, what the state is sharing is very minimal. So some of the numbers are, Arizona's only budgeting about 4 cents per student for learning supplies in the classroom.
What? Is that?
That might be a pencil.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
how does that even make sense?
I know. So that was, some of the very sobering effects of, I think, the day-to-day inequities that we're seeing, not only in our individual classrooms, but what our teachers are just sensing every time that they open the door and see all those excited, faces, but knowing that they still need those tools and learning, manipulatives.
And every kiddo learns differently, right? So when we talk about pedagogy and we talk about different learning styles, very few, and I don't have percentages or numbers on this, but very few are auditory learners solely and only. Most are experiential, or they have to, or they're tactile, or they're, that sort of thing. So if we are in a classroom and we don't have the tools we need to help this 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, how are we giving them a good start to help their brain form? Do you have more statistics that you guys are interested in sharing around where we're at as educators? And feel free to pop in throughout the rest of our conversation, but anything else that comes to mind right now?
I mean, to that point about lack of investment, it's not just lack of investment in the student's experience. The teachers aren't feeling supported themselves, and they're obviously coming out of pocket. We average between $500 and $1,200 a year. We see our teacher members needing to spend out of their own money, and that impacts them. They're already not being well compensated. Arizona has made some improvements relative to teacher compensation, but we're still 32nd in the nation. And so when you're not compensated fully, it's hard for you to want to stay in the classroom. So our retention rates are twice the national average, and we have so many teacher vacancies, teacher shortages. There, 52% of teachers are saying that they have thought about leaving the classroom on a yearly basis because of the lack of support. So because of that, it matters that we're providing this investment in our teachers, keeping them in education, building their level of experience and commitment, and honoring their service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're just one component of that career stability that I think we all need in the teaching field.
Oh, I love that. I don't think in all the time that I've been affiliated with Treasures for Teachers, I've heard it quite like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've built a great case, and we'll continue to do that, for the importance of Treasures for Teachers and how much our students and our teachers need our support. Let's talk about how companies and organizations can get involved, right? We mentioned it's membership based. The cost is really nominal. It's a very low fee. And if you can't, we've talked about this, right? If you can't afford the membership, we're going to find a way to help you get it.
Yeah, we have some wonderful funders that have not only sponsored memberships for their entire grouping of teachers, or even districts that have paid for that, very minimal membership. So there are many ways to engage with that a teacher would love to be able to have that membership provided at little or no cost to them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to. I'll tell you a little bit about my background because it relates directly to your question. So, I wish I could remember how I first heard about Treasures for Teachers, but I kind of stumbled upon it and visited their website and took a look at all of the different items that they accepted as donations, and I was super excited because I had kind of started getting into this mode where I was starting to feel very wasteful in my life. And I just had such a hard time putting things in the trash that I knew somebody needed. But there's a disconnect between I have this thing, and then trying to figure out who could take it, who would want it and need it. And so when I saw all the things that Treasures for Teachers wanted, I was super excited because there were so many things on that list. And I just thought this is such a wonderful place for people to take things that they are ready to part with, that someone else really needs them and could put them to good use. And so, I did a little bit more research and figured out that Treasures for Teachers was doing free pickups at businesses as long as, they had X number of boxes. And so I worked with my employer. We had a couple of floors in an office building downtown. And I said, hey, we've got plenty of empty space around here. Let's designate a section of our office as sort of a drop zone. And so, I worked at a, decent sized law firm, and lawyers really like their binders to be new and their folders to be new. So they finish with a case and they're ready to shred some important documents. They've got this binder that's maybe been opened twice, but they don't want to use it again. And so we designated, an empty office for people to drop stuff like that in. And within, I bet every 3 months or so, it would fill to the brim, and we would have 30 banker-sized boxes full of folders and binders, or, staplers or sorters, just stuff that people were ready to be done with, and put it in this room. And all we needed to do was make a call to T4T and make an arrangement, and they came and picked everything up. And it was just a wonderful feeling, because I knew those binders were going to teachers who knew them. And as a parent now who has to buy those for their kids at the beginning of school years, I know that binders are expensive. And that is one item at Treasures for Teachers that are totally free for our teachers.
Shelves and shelves of binders.
So if you need binders,
every color, size.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I was super excited to be able to find a place where these items could get a home where they could really be put to good use. And, I kind of took that relationship and connection and eventually transitioned onto the board. But
Barb wouldn't let you go, right? She's like, she did the same with me.
Right.
You should be on the board.
So anyway, yeah, I just feel like, as a person who has limited time, I am so excited that I have found an organization to volunteer with that kind of has two missions that are super important to me. One of which is helping teachers in Arizona, and the other is sustainability. Like, I see a huge need for people to start rethinking what they're doing with their consumption, and to find a place where you can rehome things instead of just mindlessly toss it into the trash is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Starve a landfill.
Yes, starve a landfill.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's my new favorite phase.
I love it.
That I've heard in this world, and I have adopted it fully.
Yes.
So things get second, third lives with us. But most importantly for our teachers, they see an old CD, like an old compact disc, but they see a craft. They see a way to engage in the classroom with it. And so I think that's the fun part, is seeing those items really get a chance to be part of that educational manipulative world. And to your mention of, students learn in lots of different ways. And sometimes that can be a refreshing thing for our teachers to not only see some of those ideas, but also see that there's, many places that they can go and be inspired and even engage with each other while they're shopping. We have many teachers that just spend time talking to each other right there on the store floor.
Christopher, you've been with Treasures for Teachers, I was going to say 3 years, but I don't know if I'm right.
It'll be 2 years in about 2 to 3 months.
Okay. And how did you mention your parents were teachers? How did you come about becoming part of the Treasures for Teachers family?
So though neither of my parents were members at any point, I also had driven past Treasures for Teachers a couple of times, just being in that general area. And I saw the sign, obviously teacher, are unique with the apple shape, stands out. And I was just like, wonder what that is. And, it kind of cemented over a couple of experiences, seeing that logo to keep it kind of in the back of my mind. And then when I was looking for an opportunity to impact Arizona more directly, I've kind of been in the nonprofit space for about a decade, and I've worked for a couple different organizations, some of which supported very concentrated missions that were based in Arizona, and some that were kind of more national or international. I wanted to bring some of my work back home, and I obviously grew up within an educator household, and so that's something that's always mattered to me. I've always known how much that impacts every corner of our community. Everyone's been a student. Everybody hopefully desires to be curious and a lifelong student. And everybody's had teachers and mentors and people who are impacting their life on a daily basis. And when I learned more specifically about the mission of Treasures for Teachers, that cemented all of those that much deeper. And so it just so happened that our timing was spot on. Barb and Cami and the organization were looking for folks to, kind of be in the development wing of the organization. And so it's been a great fit for the last couple of years.
I'll say. We got to work very closely together to prepare for the 20th celebration and our first really big fundraiser. And to watch you do what you do was fun. Cami, I know we had a handful of candidates. We were all very excited about Christopher coming on board. From your perspective, what have you noticed that has shifted in the organization with Christopher's support?
I think that, we just have like a more streamlined approach to a lot of things, like our, I'll let Christopher talk about this a little more, but like, for example, we have a new Fuel for School program, and it is a wonderful way for individuals and organizations and companies to support Treasures for Teachers and help kids and their teachers get ready for back to school. And, these sort of concentrated campaigns and obviously, we have never had the bandwidth to be able to put on an event before. And with Christopher's knowledge and help, we were finally able to put on a wonderful gala in February, where, it was really fun just to be able to, have like an in-person gathering where, we could celebrate Treasures for Teachers, but also celebrate some of our educators and volunteers. And it was just something that was long overdue. And we're just so excited that we finally have wheels in motion to be able to do events like that again. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. And for you, Christopher, when you think just a couple years back to now, what has been the most rewarding part of your job as you've really gotten to know Treasures for Teachers and are serving that mission?
Yeah, the most rewarding piece is hearing the testimony, the impact stories from our teacher members, from our classrooms, from our donors, learning why supporting education matters to them. Everyone's got a unique connection and story, things that compel their heart. And so it's really making those connections, understanding why Treasures for Teachers is a part of their life, and connecting them with additional ways for them to be involved, to support their community, to be active, and to see their investment manifest into, impact in the classroom.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. It's interesting. Again, it's probably been about 10 years for me. I had helped a couple open a preschool in Gilbert. And when I knew I was leaving education, finally, after years of re-entry, I had my garage filled with bins and books and supplies, and was very proud of the items that I had as a third grade teacher and an administrator for so many years. And it was also time to, as Cami mentioned, pass it on to somebody else who could use it. So it wasn't just collecting dust. And I put out on Facebook, like, hey, where can I, put these out there. And a gal that I had worked for me at Primrose Preschool of South Gilbert was Crystal, and she was at the time the community manager. She's long since moved on, and she was my first introduction. She said, "You've got to come meet Barbara. You've got to come to Treasures for Teachers." I couldn't believe I hadn't known about the organization yet. And so I made a point to get down there and was blown away by the warehouse and the store itself. So I would love for us to spend a little bit of time there, because as Barbara would always say, you've got to see it to believe it. I mean, when I say there's, shelves and shelves of binders, there are shelves and shelves of binders. When I say that there are these really great large books for kindergartners and first graders with puppets to match, or shelves and shelves of a library for free and reduced books, it's unimaginable. Cami talked about the CDs. How else can you help people visualize and help them step into the store for the next couple minutes?
I think I've heard it explained as like Costco for teachers.
Oh, I like that.
So, and it's bright and it's airy. There's a lot of shelves, like you mentioned, with items, not only our books, but all those kind of basic needs. But then since we are receiving items from the community, sometimes we're blessed with some pretty intriguing items. And so we've noticed that many of our teachers will come and visit us multiple times during the month, not just for filling the classroom, but also to see what treasures they can find there. And I think for them, it's kind of a different experience each week. We also do a number of giveaways and items that they're getting for free each week, and promoting that not only through Facebook and Instagram, so that way they can kind of get a little sneak preview of what might be coming up. And we're grateful for those partners, because they've really made a huge difference in the items that our teachers are getting, and not only to serve their incredible classrooms, but really, like I said, moving that education conversation forward for their students.
Yeah, there are some really cool things at the store that you kind of have to see to believe. So there's a whole section that is called the $5 fill-a-bag section, and it's it sort of encompasses a pretty decent sized section of the whole store. But there's a kind of like a bread box size bag, I would say, that you can fill as full as you can fill, as full as you can for $5. And the section has so many random things that you wouldn't even imagine. Like, so there's yarn, there's lace, there are Easter eggs, there's fabric scraps, crayons, pencils,
envelopes, stationery,
bottle caps.
Yeah.
That's a really cool that's just one thing that pops in my mind, is that like colored, the bottle caps that come on the top of your milk carton or whatever, things like that are great little sort of like counters or tactile pieces, or things that are used in crafts. And I've seen people post on like Facebook groups like, "Hey, I'm doing this craft with my kids. Does anybody have 20 blue bottle caps or whatever?" If you go into Treasures for Teachers, there is a barrel-sized bin full of bottle caps of every color of the rainbow. And so if a teacher is planning to do like a certain craft or whatever, and they see that, those are all right there. They've been sorted, and they're ready for them to just have for the taking. And so stuff like that is just super cool. And it's like Joy said, it's different every time. Every time you walk into the facility, you're not going to get the same thing, because it just kind of depends on what's been donated. I mean, granted, there are certain items that are a certainty. Like, we will always have folders and binders and bottle caps and stuff like that. But there, every once in a while, we'll get a company that donates something really unique. Here's a good example. There was one time I visited the store, and some company had donated these leftover plastic buckles. So like, if you think about, if you have like a backpack or a leash or something, or, a dog collar that has like a plastic buckle on it, they were, about 1.5 by 1.5. And they were just these like buckle pieces. And I thought they were so cool. And I actually ended up taking some of them and making Halloween spiders out of them with my kids, like, first grade class or whatever. But it was just such a fun, unique item. And, teachers are super creative and they will find something awesome to do with those items.
It's
and
a creative reuse store, right? It's
Yeah.
that's the
it's
whole
right in the
idea.
name.
Saving the landfills, creative reuse, sustainable resources. And my mind goes to Staples, Joann's, Office Max, and all the big box companies that have supported Treasures for Teachers over the years. I mean, we're talking pallets and pallets of things that are no longer on the shelves from sometimes all over the country, right, Christopher?
Yeah, and I know exactly what Cami was referencing with those buckles. Those buckles did not come from one of the places that you just mentioned. They came from a defense contractor called BAE Systems, which is very near the store near South Mountain. And they produce a variety of defense equipment. They produce helicopter seats and Kevlar vests and a variety of other things. And one of their challenges is the orders that they take for a variety of defense contracts from the government and other, they don't know exactly when those are going to start, how long they're going to last in some cases. And if I hadn't have been explained this, I wouldn't have understood that apparently those buckles, fabrics, straps, Velcro, apparently there's a shelf life for those items. Apparently they're just like milk and they have a best by date. And so they can't use those items forever, even if they are still new in box. So I work with a guy who's very passionate about sustainability and the footprint of BAE Systems. His name is Phil. And so he calls me up and says, I've got these buckles. They could be used for spiders. I've got this Velcro. It could be, right? He doesn't necessarily have the creative reuse ideas, but he, he says, is this something that you think would provide inspiration and functionality in a classroom? And 90% of the time, it's a yes. So it's not just the traditional office supply type items, which we still need as our core items, but that's what complements the variety that you'll see at Treasures for Teachers.
I love that story. Thanks for tagging on to what Cami had shared, because it brings it full circle and a great example of how literally any company, any organization, or any household can be part of Treasures for Teachers and give back to our educators and the students who use those supplies. Can we talk about Fuel for School? Cami, drop that little nugget for us. Because there's a current need, right? Again, we mentioned at the onset of this conversation that it's back to school already. And we know that our classrooms need to be filled with exciting manipulatives and supplies to get the year kicking. So how can folks get involved? What does that look like for people?
Yeah, roughly 2/3 of students, they don't have the items they need when they arrive at school, which is, sad. If you are excited about school, which not everyone is, and you show up and there are people that have items to participate and engage and you don't, it impacts your confidence. It in fact impacts your engagement level. And to that end, back to school, when people traditionally think about going back to school in the late summer or early fall, those items, we try to infuse as many items as possible, but those items normally run out part of the way through even the first semester. And so it's an ongoing process to re-up those classrooms, to keep those students and their desks full of everything that they need to participate and learn in the way that is best for them. And so that's why back to school time and Fuel for School are so amazing, is because it really connects our broader community, those individuals, those organizations, to that need. They're making a direct impact. It's not like they're giving and they don't know where it goes. They don't know how it impacts classrooms. And there are 4 main ways that folks can get involved. First, they can host a traditional supply drive. I know, Karen, that you have one of our beautiful purple barrels here in your office, and you can facilitate an internal employee or other retail supply drive where people can bring items and place them in those barrels. I will drive down and pick those up whenever it's convenient for you. And a majority of the items that we need, we like to focus on those core items initially. Those are pencils, dry erase markers, filler paper, crayons, notebooks, glue sticks, pocket folders, washable markers, and colored pencils. Those are kind of our top 10, if you will. And people can complement that type of involvement with a virtual supply drive. We have great management power. And what I mean by that is you should see the logistics that go into us sorting and processing and actually getting it out the door. Kudos to our back of the house team about what it takes to actually distribute the supplies that are donated. But a virtual supply drive is essentially you connecting your family, your friends, and raising money on behalf of Fuel for School so that we can get those additional core items and process and actually distribute them out to classrooms. And then additionally, we obviously take direct monetary donations. Shout out to my mom who donated today. Thanks, Cindy Cordes. And then additionally, volunteering. So I just mentioned a variety of those back-end needs, those activities. It's a lot of fun because there's a variety of things that we're sorting and placing and organizing, and we can take groups and individuals. We have a great deal of flexibility with our Teacher Resource Center to find a time and opportunity that is convenient and easy for you. And so those are the primary ways that people have been helping out.
I love it. Yeah, this when we've described the store, the warehouse, it is massive and impressive, and it's meticulously organized. That's one of my favorite things. You will be in awe when you go in there, and that doesn't happen without a great team and a great team of volunteers. Can we spend a little bit more time talking about volunteers? You've done a great job explaining that really anybody can come and say, how can I be of service? I mean, there's a job for everybody. A lot of service projects groups come through, companies for team building, that sort of thing. What else could we mention for our listeners and viewers around the volunteer opportunities? Anything else that we hadn't thought to mention?
I think the key is that this can be a way, if you're someone who's just interested in volunteering, there are a great number of volunteers that come throughout the day that are eager to make a new friend, because we know volunteering is a way to not only connect socially, but it's also a way to be doing the greater good. So we have some incredible volunteers that are always looking to make a new friend. And whether it's pricing things that go onto the store floor or cleaning some of our donations, but also just that fact that we have so much stuff and moving it onto the floor so it's available for a teacher. It's one of the areas that our volunteers do an incredible job with, but also just talking about T4T too. They are some of our greatest ambassadors out there in the community. And we have a number of volunteers that have been with us from the very, very beginning. And that was what was so incredible about the February event, that they really felt seen and felt that love of not only their endless and timeless service, but also the fact that the impact that they're making on a day-to-day basis was really seen.
A great example of how folks can get involved. My sister and her husband live in Encantera, which is out in Santan.
Santan Valley.
Yeah, Santan Valley. Hello. Which is, the other side of the valley from where Treasures for Teachers is located, which is why I'm making that point. Treasures for Teachers is about 1.5 miles from us right here in Tempe, 48th Street, right between Southern and Broadway. And I remember my sister, when she found out that I was on the board, she's like, oh my goodness, we have this big donation drive going, and there's many volunteers. They take the bus and they come and they help out. And And they have become those ambassadors, Joy, that you had talked about. So whether it's a neighborhood community, a Girl Scout, Boy Scout troop, it's an office, it's a team of friends, it really literally anybody can come and support and help. And I remember Barb even talking about stories about folks who preferred to volunteer from home. And they'd come and pick up some sort of project, stapling little packets of paper together and doing those sorts of things. So really, I think the key here is if you're looking for an opportunity to be of service to our community and you have a soft place in your heart for our students and our teachers who dedicate their lives to educating kids, simply reach out to Joy or Christopher and get on the treasuresforteachers.org link and just introduce yourself and, hey, put me to work. Here's my skill set.
Yeah, we have a volunteer form right on our website that they can submit, and that will be going right to our volunteer coordinator, Sandy, who does an incredible job at not only scheduling those larger groups, but those smaller groups. So your national charity leagues, things like that. There's just a number of really incredible organizations and groups of individuals that have really made T4T their volunteering home.
How are we so lucky to get you, Joy?
Ooh. Well, I think the claw machine kind of picked me out and said, this is where you need to go now. So, and it's been such an exciting journey, in many ways. Like I said, T4T has always been a darling nonprofit, and I've known it not only in my nonprofit work, but also in the philanthropic world that I've worked in. So for me, it was just becoming part of something that already had so much momentum behind it, but it really was the next chapter. And so I will say it takes a level of bravery to be the executive director after Barb.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. We all felt that too, didn't we? We were very happy when the selection committee had decided that it was you were the one that we wanted to make sure we had an offer for, and a great love and appreciation for everything that Barb had created. And we mentioned that we celebrated Barb at the 20th celebration, and now there is this new opportunity for us to grow from here. And when you say darling organization, I totally agree, and it's robust. It's darling, and it still is very grassroots, and at the same time, it is a robust organization that has a national reach.
Yes. Yeah. And I felt like I hit the jackpot on variety. I am someone who loves an interesting day, and T4T has definitely checked every single box for that. So whether it's, needing to buy some new DEF fluid for the, truck that we have that's a diesel truck, to potentially an air conditioning issue, to, an excitement of being on a podcast like this during a day, that's a normal, executive director day, but it's been truly an honor to be a part of this organization. And I think some of the things that, are kind of in the plan is, that store is incredible, but it's also thinking about that member experience. So, we're doing a little bit of a front end redesign, moving the cashier area around, moving around our free zone. So even for our T4T members that maybe haven't been in for a while, don't be surprised when you come in and it looks a little bit different. We're not trying to upset anybody. We're just trying to find a way to make that a really great shopping experience, and kind of take some cues from our fellow retail experts out there. And, I'm thankful too for Niagara Cares. So Niagara Water just donated 2 pallets of water for us. So that way we can have free water for our teachers for the whole summer while they're doing their shopping. And so there's just been some great partnerships that have already started to kind of engage with. And sometimes that's why I think it's fun to be the new ED, because I feel like I get to refresh some of those conversations or engage in new ones. And it becomes that kind of jumping, platform to have those conversations.
Let's spend some more time there. Great segue. Thank you. To our sponsors and our contributors. Who else has been deeply involved, at least in the last year, that would be worthy of a kind of a little shout out?
Sure. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some great community partners who people might be familiar with. The organization actually got a majority of its initial momentum from Intel. So Intel, obviously a massive presence in Chandler, and they also believe heavily in sustainability, and they really provided a lot of those initial supplies and infrastructure items to the organization. So they're a huge supporter of ours and continue to be. And they have they really reinforce volunteerism for their employees, and that's become a primary focus of theirs. I actually attended a volunteer celebration of their volunteers last week at Chandler Center for the Arts, and it was a great celebration of that organization and just how we are the largest small town in America. I feel like Phoenix is. And so word gets around about companies that are doing good work in the community and, really have that sense of social responsibility, and refer us to others. Intel's referred us to places like SRP, who's a tremendous supporter. They hosted us for our Gemstone event. APS, also a fantastic supporter. And then we've got great foundations that grant our mobile program, like T4T on Wheels, the Thunderbirds who put on the Phoenix Open, and the Tempe Diablos, the Scottsdale Charros, Fiesta Bowl charities. All of those organizations are deeply committed to education, and we've built such just a tremendous level of trust, a relationship that is rooted in trust, where they know that when they invest in us, that they're investing in our future community, and education is the one thing that really creates opportunity for everyone, and they understand that, and it's been a blessing.
Cami, anybody else that you think we ought to make sure we give a shout out for?
I like to give a shout out to Shutterfly, because they donate a lot of wonderful product. They are in the paper business, and, every once in a while they print something that it turns out to be a mistake, or they, slice some paper and have cutoffs at the end that they need to donate, or something is the wrong size, or whatever it is. If you come to the store, you will quickly discovered that a lot of the items in the $5 fill-a-bag area come from Shutterfly. They just, and it's always something different, but they, who needs paper more than teachers do, right? And they, we're so grateful that they have partnered with us so that we can help them take the things that aren't working for them and put it to a much better use. So I also want to give a shout out to Social Venture Partners, who is a local organization that sort of will take some nonprofits under their wing and provide them with assistance and guidance and funding. And, they kind of view they kind of take a view to assisting nonprofits as sort of like a venture capital firm would. And, they want to help provide guidance to see the organizations that they take under their wing and see them succeed. And we were very fortunate to be granted the opportunity to work with them. I think we're in our second year, and it's a 5-year program. And we're, we have been given access to some wonderful advisors, some amazing funding, and we just are so excited to have that relationship and that they are working with us to help us thrive and grow.
Yeah, we would have been remiss had we not remembered to give a shout out to Social Venture Partners. Cami and I have talked about having formed these committees for a long time. It was the board and the staff and Barb as the conduit that ran back and forth. And we've really been able to take a look at our marketing and our branding and how we function as a board and how we relate back to the staff and vice versa. And a lot of great advice and wisdom and support, both expertise as well as financial support, have come from Social Venture Partners, as well as a lot of the folks that we've already given a shout out to. So thank you for that. What have I not thought to ask that we want to make sure that we celebrate and share?
I would love to talk about the thrift store.
Let's talk about the thrift store. Oh my gosh, I was just in there the other day, and I'm taking photos for everybody. Like, don't you need one of these? And don't you need one of these? And trying on shoes. So let's talk about the thrift store.
So the thrift store is I think it opened not long after I joined the board. Mm-hmm. So it's a newer part of T4T. And so because it was the wheels were already in motion before I joined the board, I can't speak too much to the background, but it just turned out that there was this space in our building that was the perfect size for doing something cool with, like a thrift store. And if you go to the website and look at the items that we accept as donations, there is a lot of stuff on that list. But one of the downsides to being an organization that takes so much stuff is that people bring everything to you, which can be wonderful, but it can also be somewhat problematic if you don't have a home for it. And so we were, T4T was getting donations of things like clothing and housewares that just, were great things. They just didn't belong in a classroom. And so we, the organization sort of thought maybe there's a way we can put those things to good use. And so we decided to open a thrift store so that we could take everything that comes our way and ensure that it is getting that second life that it needs. And so it's a wonderful component, in my opinion, because it really allows T4T to kind of be that sort of one-stop shop. If you are like cleaning out your closet or your office or whatever, you don't need to take one thing to T4T and then take another to a different location if you're trying to find new places for your items. Like pretty much all of it can probably come to T4T with certain exceptions, obviously. But so we opened a thrift store, and it is so super cute.
Also very well organized.
Very well organized.
Very boutique vibe.
It's so cool. And and it's not to say that it's all, everything there is secondhand from individuals. There are some really cool things that come from businesses. And I'm going to have to let Joy fill this in for me, because I was there the other day, and the thrift store has these cutting boards that are so cool. And they're these beautiful wooden cutting boards with a turquoise blue line of resin in them. And they had a whole stack of them, and they were $3. Like, this is the cutest thing ever. And I'm hoping that Joy can tell me exactly where those come from, because I've seen them in there quite a bit. And so I know that it's a donation that we get from time to time. But
yeah, it's a local donor that drops them off, and it really has made it to be kind of our little go-to for, completely original items that he has. And the place he thinks about is the T4T thrift store. And so, once again, you're just not going to know what you're going to find. There's always something really beautiful. But I love that there are so many engaged individuals that were top of mind for some really incredible items, and they get to live in our store for a while before someone else like Cammie, who says, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is here. This is beautiful. I can't wait to take this home."
One of the items that I saw the other day, we were there for an award, not last week, I think,
Yes,
right? Which is how we decide we better be on air today, but we'll talk about that award in just a minute. And so I popped in a thrift store before picking up my big bin for fuel for school, although I had to come back for it because I forgot. Christopher texted me like, "I see that you left your bins here." I'm like, "I'm coming back. I forgot." Anyway, one of the photos I took from the thrift store was this beautiful massage table, brand new.
I saw that.
Gorgeous massage table. I don't have the need for it. I took a photo and I put it out there to friends and just said, and the price was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
So really all these neat finds that, and if you love thrifting, this is a really cool experience. And we're very blessed with some of the folks who help people downsize, or the home organizers, those sorts of folks. Oftentimes they have a soft spot for Treasures for Teachers thrift store and the store itself, and they often donate. Yeah. Can we talk about that award that we just were recipients for? Because that was super cool. And it was the first time they gave this award away. I can't intelligently talk about it, but can somebody else?
Yeah, so that's the Arizona Professional Educators Organization. So we were nominated for their Community Partner Award. So they came and did their presentation ceremony last week. So we were excited to not only have members of their board join us, but members of the T4T board, get some photos, shared them on our social media. So we were thrilled to be not only the first to be recognized for that award, but by an organization that really cares about teachers in providing, liability insurance to them. So, someone who is really thinking through all of the challenges our teachers are facing every day. So it's wonderful to partner with those types of organizations.
Awesome. We have about a few minutes left. What else do we want to make sure our listeners and viewers know about our wonderful Treasures for Teachers?
Yeah, just like to reinforce that, we've impacted thousands and thousands of teachers over the last 20 years. We roughly impact 8,000 teachers and about 250,000 students every year. And that's not even close to half of the number of educators that are in Maricopa County or across the state. So any additional awareness building, sharing this story, sharing the opportunity with educators, with, everyone can help, make the lives of so many more teachers in classrooms, more optimal in the future. And so just, spreading the word is super valuable. And then on top of that, we gave away close to $7 million in valued supplies. And so when you think about that, sheer volume is huge. The value from a monetary standpoint is huge, but there's an intangible value that you can't put a price on, the comfort and opportunity that it provides to students. And so, give that priceless opportunity to students in the future. And, you can do that through Fuel for School. You can do that year round. You can check us out at treasuresforteachers.org. You can text 50155 to fuel the number 4 school. Again, that's 50155 to fuel the number 4 school. And that'll connect you to opportunities to get involved. We're just grateful. The Fuel for School campaign goes through August.
I love it. I thought of something else while you were sharing that, Christopher. This is not just for public educators and teachers, right? When we say this is membership based, it's for anyone who touches the lives of students. So if you're teaching maybe a class at church, or you're a Boy Scout or Girl Scout leader, or you run an after school program, what other ideas can we give? A private school, you name it.
So homeschool.
Yes, of course, our homeschoolers. And we really just need some sort of identification to just say, hey, this is legit, right?
Yeah, usually it's either
Super easy.
A teaching contract, a teaching ID, maybe an affidavit for your homeschools, things like that. Honestly, we're willing to meet you where you're at.
Low pressure. Yeah.
Low pressure.
And we just have you register. And
Mhm.
currently, and I know we've talked about raising the membership price, and we haven't in years. What is it currently?
It's $35.
So I think that's important. It might raise, right? So there's that. However, $35 for a year to come into the store as often as you can and often as you want to. And you get to bring a guest with you.
Yeah, you can bring up to 4 guests. You get a 4 guest pass, or a guest pass for 4 individuals each year.
Yeah.
So that's sometimes a great way to not only bring along a friend or maybe somebody who's brand new to the teaching world. We know our teachers often depend on each other and that word of mouth within the classroom. So that's been a huge thing too.
I know several members who are not close to the Tempe location, and they make a point to get together once a quarter, grab some coffee or breakfast, come together. It's a girls' day and they get to shop together and they have the supplies. I know for me, when I taught all those years ago, I would be, while I was planning in advance, I'd often wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my goodness, I forgot to get, whatever, paint or this or that. For those teachers who plan well in advance and have their list, the amount of money that you save at Treasures for Teachers is amazing. So for many years, when my kids were in elementary school, I would send an email to their teachers and say, hey, I've got my board meeting coming up. I'm headed to T4T. What do you need? And of course, they would always ask for, do you think they might have this unusual thing, or the basics, the markers and the glue sticks, that sort of thing. I remember, and maybe one of you have the statistics handy. I remember at one point we were comparing the pricing of, a handful of items say from Walmart, even where prices tend to be low, or even Amazon Prime, in comparison to what one might spend at Treasures for Teachers. And we're talking about sometimes saving hundreds of dollars in one shopping trip.
Yeah, I mean, we estimate that roughly there's $1,234 in value that teachers get out of their $35 membership per year in supplies.
Oh, I love that. $1,200.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, I mean, and one of the wonderful things about T4T is that so many we have a lot of giveaways. I mean, I feel like half the time they're giving away paper at the checkout. And there's
right.
Yeah, there's lots and lots of giveaways. And then there's a whole section that's called free. And the free section, as we mentioned, has binders, but it has really cool things like egg cartons and toilet paper rolls and shoe boxes and coffee cans and items that most of us probably just put in the trash or recycling. But if you're a teacher who's trying to do some organizing, those coffee cans, super helpful.
Yes.
And
instead of asking parents to,
right.
Because who has coffee cans on hand anymore? Excellent. Again, I get to say our because I'm part of the organization. Treasures for Teachers, social media, Instagram. So fun to watch what you all are doing on Instagram and Facebook. So it's Treasures with a number 4 Teachers on Instagram, as well as Facebook, I believe,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
And then the website itself is treasures4teachers.org. Again, I feel like it would be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to Chloe, who has been, and Poonam as well. I mean, and I'm sad
The
to say,
incredible staff.
incredible staff. These are folks that I've gotten to watch grow over the years. So my apologies for not knowing all of the staff members. Poonam was really instrumental for the time that we were getting ready to, welcome you on board. And Chloe was an incredible help for us in planning the big Gemstone event. In addition to, I think, managing your social media as a volunteer originally, and now on staff with you guys.
Mhm.
So I just had to make sure that I got those names in there too.
We have a lot of volunteers that eventually become staff members. So
And we're grateful. We're
Mhm.
so grateful. Okay. I think that's it for now. Fuel for School. That's right. And when we have this posted as a podcast for replay, we'll make sure that we have some of the links available for you. And please do reach out to Treasures for Teachers to find out how you can better support the organization so that it goes directly back to our students and teachers here in Arizona. You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Max 6 Entrepreneur Center. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean education. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki. Thanks for listening.